This presentation is about Chapter 9 on classroom management. It talks about in this chapter a lot about what exactly is classroom management. When we think of classroom management, we might think of more how to get children to behave in your classroom, and a lot of that growing up was maybe by being punished if you weren't doing the right thing. This chapter talks about how classroom management has become a lot more of that now. It involves all of these things that are listed here, and it's not just how to manage the students, it's developing relationships with them, it's organizing your classroom so that there's not any downtime where students won't be listening, and getting the students motivated about their learning. So, as I said, there's kind of a paradigm shift that it talks about in this chapter, where teacher candidates a lot of times say that this is what they really need to learn about. And they need to also remember, though, that classroom management is not so much focused on behavior anymore, but more about how to lower misbehaviors in the classroom. And to do that, we're realizing that you need to develop a community in your classroom where students feel safe and they're motivated. So it talked about specifically creating meaningful curriculum and motivating instruction. It talks about there's a need for developmentally appropriate pedagogy, and that was a previous chapter in our textbook. There's a lot of research in this chapter about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and how research lately shows that extrinsic motivation is not such a good thing because it takes away from a student's want to be motivated inside, because then they're just doing the work to get the reward instead of doing it because they want to do it. And then respecting cultural differences and having some sort of cultural pedagogy in your culturally responsive pedagogy in your classroom. Also, developing learning communities was important in here, and it talked about how you need to have a community among the students in your classroom, and also within the whole school. The whole school needs to be a safe place for students. Having parental involvement is very important in your learning community, so teachers need to reach out to parents and families. Having classroom procedures or routines is important because then you don't have downtime where students will misbehave, and then they're aware of what to do. If they know that the procedure is when we go to bathroom break, the girls line up, then the boys line up, then we put our hand up to show that we're ready, then they'll do that. And if you do it every single time, then they'll get used to it and there won't be any misbehaviors, or as many misbehaviors, I guess. It also talks about the types of misbehaviors, and there's about 5 that they listed. And knowing, the ones that they listed were aggression, immorality, disruptions, defiance, and goofing off. And knowing the difference between those misbehaviors and how to address each certain one is important, because how I address somebody goofing off is going to be a lot different than how I deal with aggression. So being able to differentiate between those. Evaluate classroom management programs. It talks about a variety of different classroom management programs: teaching with love and logic, discipline with dignity, and knowing those, having an idea that they're out there and knowing what they each kind of believe, and that will help you be able to develop one that works with your specific classroom. And then considering moral development was also brought up, and thinking about the morals for students and how to teach them those. And then I'm going to begin with my questions, and each question will also be listed in the discussion board. So I hope you enjoy my questions. Question number 1. This chapter talks about the importance of creating a community in the classroom. How can you get students to feel like they are part of the community of the classroom without losing your control as a teacher? Research showed that schools serving low-income students typically show lower levels of community. Why do you think that is? Question number 2. This chapter talks about a variety of classroom management programs that have been designed for teachers to use, such as assertive discipline or teaching with love and logic. With so many choices of programs, how can a teacher assure that the program they choose is what is best for their classroom of students? Also, if anyone has used any of these programs, please share if they were successful or not. And question 3, are universities preparing students well enough in classroom management? This chapter states extensive student teaching in well-run, developmentally appropriate classrooms provides a solid foundation for understanding how teachers can engage students in meaningful learning and manage classrooms toward that end. How can universities ensure that pre-service teachers are given those types of classrooms to student teach in?